Talagunda inscription of the Kadamba Dynasty. Talagunda was an ancient agrahara called as Sthana Kundura in the inscriptions of the Kadambas of Banavasi, the first indigenous kingdom in Karnataka. Exploration around Talagunda has brought to light early historic vestiges in the form of brick structures. A Prakrit inscription of the Satavahana period found at Malavalli, 7 km northeast of Talagunda, proves that the place was under the occupation of the Satavahanas right from 1st 2nd century CE. The holy primeval god Bhava found here was said to have been worshipped by the Satakarni in an inscription. Datable to 5th century CE, the inscribed stone pillar in front of the Pranavishwara temple records that a tank was got excavated by King Kakustavarman 405 to 430 CE for the use of the temple. But this is a very vital historical document giving an account of the origin of the Kadambas, their pedigree down to Santivarman, son of Kukusta. It also relates to the circumstances leading to the foundation of a kingdom by Mayur Sarman and recounts the achievements of his successors. The inscription in box-headed Kadamba characters and in chaste Sanskrit of the Kavya style was composed by poet Kubja. The language is excellent classical Sanskrit following the rules of Panini. The script is Kannada and the font is floral box type. The inscription consists of 34 poetic verses that respect the Chanda rules of Sanskrit. However, it uses a mix of meters such as Pushpithagra, Indravajra, Vasanta Tilaka, Prachita and others. Each verse has 4 pathas. The inscription first 24 verses are the earliest known use of Matra Samaka meter. These features suggest that the authors of this inscription in South India had an intimate expertise in classical Sanskrit and Vedic literature on prosody. The inscription mentions them as belonging to Manavya Gotra and they were Hariti Putras. Almost all the political information about the early history of Kadambas can be gleaned from this inscription. Installed by Shantivarma, it gives abundant information and about his father Kakustavarma. Kakustavarma is the famous king of this dynasty. He extended his kingdom by defeating the Pallavas and by entering into marital relationship with the Guptas, Vakatakas, Alupas and Gangas. Administration was properly streamlined and the state was subdivided into smaller units such as Vishaya, Rashtra and Nadu. Inscriptions mention many officials such as Mahathara, Rajapurusha, Garamba, Grama Bogika, Vishayapati, Tantrapala, etc. Many taxes were levied and agriculture was the main profession. There are evidences of trade and transoceanic business relations. The inscription is also useful to trace the tribal background of Mayura Sarma. His family got its name from the Kadamba tree that grew near his home. The inscription narrates how Mayura Sarma proceeded to Kanchi with his guru and grandfather Veera Sarma to pursue his Vedic studies at a Gathika in c. 345 CE. There, owing to some misunderstanding between him and a Pallava god at an Ashwashanstha, the place of horse sacrifice, a quarrel arose in which Mayura Sharma was humiliated. In a rage, he left Kanchi, swearing vengeance on the Pallavas and took to arms. He collected a faithful group of followers and routed the Pallava armies in the forest of near Sri Parvatha, Sri Sailam region. After a prolonged period of war against the Pallavas and other smaller kings such as the Banas, he proclaimed independence. Unable to contain him, the Pallavas had to accept his sovereignty. The fact that Maurya Sarma had to travel to distant Kanchi for Vedic studies gives an indication that Vedic lore was quite rudimentary in the reign at that time. The recently discovered Gutnapur inscription states that Maurya Sarma's grandfather and preceptor was Veera Sarma and his father Bandhusena developed the character of a Kshatriya. Another stone inscription found at Halmidi, c. 450 CE, belongs to Kadamba ruler Kakustavarma, is considered to be the earliest one in Kannada script. The inscription also provides interesting information about the contents of Vedic learning prevalent at Talagunda since ancient times, where the interiors of the houses loudly resounded with the recitation of sixfold subjects, Shat Darshanas, preceded by the word Om, which promoted the increase of ample Chaturmaisya sacrifices, burnt offerings, oblations, animal sacrifices, new and full moon, and Shraddha rites. The Talagunda pillar inscription is composed in wonderful literary Sanskrit, states the Sanskrit scholar Sheldon Pollock. The inscription attached to the importance of Kanchipuram as a center, Gathika, for advanced studies in ancient India, where the already learned Brahmin Mayura Sarman from Talagunda goes with his counselor to study the whole Veda. Other inscriptions and literary evidence suggest that Ghathikas were associated with Hindu temples and mathas, monasteries, and educated hundreds of students in different fields of knowledge. According to M.G.S. Narayanan, the mention of the conflict of Mayura Sarman with Pallava cavalry at the Ghatika suggests that the higher studies centered in Kanchi. He also says that the martial arts were also taught there, and Mayur Sarman must have acquired his weapons and skills of war there. Hence, he successfully found and established a kingdom. The inscription compares the Kadamba king to Kakustha or divine Ramo of the epic. The inscription also views the social and political role of a dynasty that views itself as a Brahmin as a generous donor, benefactors to religious and social causes. While being Kshatriya, like willing to wage war against others, they view as persecutors and enemy of the people. According to Michael Willis, the Talagunda inscription presents rather more militant form of Brahmins who had taken up this war to address the problems of the Kali age. He adds that the Talagunda inscription may also significant to helping the Manava Dharma Shastra, Manusmriti, to sometime in the 4th century, and it spread in and after the 5th century. This is the earliest dynasty in the country to issue inscriptions in vernacular script.